Hello, everybody. Jason Creel here, and you are live on the Lawn Care Live, where some of you at least are live. Maybe others will be joining on the replay, which is fine as well. What I typically do on these sessions is I'm usually on here for about an hour. We'll see how it goes. And we just take questions, Q&A. You can ask me about your own lawn if you want to ask questions about your own lawn, how to take care of that. Or you can certainly ask me for advice on your own lawn care business. So welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining us. Wanted to, as some of you know that watch my channel a lot, I'm sponsored by two regular companies on my YouTube channel. One is Graham Spray Equipment. The spray tank on the back of my spray rig, I do weed control and fertilization, comes from Graham Spray Equipment in Douglasville, Georgia. So if you find yourself needing a spray rig, go to grahamsc.com, and also Yardbook. I've been using Yardbook as my software since 2015, and they have been fantastic, and I still recommend Yardbook. If you want a free account, go to yardbook.com. With that being said, it's a Friday, October the 6th, and I have today is like a great day for me because the weather's cooling off. We got some much needed rain this morning. Tomorrow, the high is in the 60s, low in the 40s, which is great for me. I just get tired of being hot. So, but yesterday also was a great day because I finished spraying my fall pre-emergent applications. I run a small weed control and fertilization business. Have a touchscreen computer. Sorry about that. But yeah, I finished my applications yesterday. I've been spraying Spectacle Flow on my Bermuda lawns, Spectacle, Metsulfuron, 2,4-D, and Simazine on Bermuda zoysia lawns. On the Centipede St. Augustine lawns, I was just going with prodiamine and Simazine. But I got that done. My business, I work by myself, just have like 300 and something yards, and was out there spraying those and got them done yesterday for the most part. So I may have a little bit to do. I know I got to oversee a softball field next week and maybe a few things. But anyway, so that's what's going on with me. I'm also going to the Equip Expo in 2 weeks. I'm going to be there Thursday and Friday. So my daughter's coming with me, and so we're going to make the trip up and hopefully go to the thing. I forget what it's called, like where Naylor Taliaferro puts on an event on Thursday night, and I'm going to go to that. I know Thursday, I think at 1 p.m. I'm going to be at the Xmark booth with Keith Kalfas handing out shirts. I think we're handing out shirts. I don't know, but I'll be there for a while and hopefully get to meet some of you in person. That would be great. All right, so we're going to take these questions and see how they go, and you guys join in. And as always, sometimes I don't know the answer, and I ask you guys to pitch in, and you can answer the questions too on the comment section. Is there a limit on how long you can keep herbicide in a handheld sprayer before it begins to lose its effectiveness? Hours, days? I would imagine, I don't have a definitive answer for this. I would imagine it's going to vary product to product, but personally speaking, I lean more towards being okay leaving it in there for a long time. And so, matter of fact, I've got some in a sprayer that I used in a video probably 2 months ago. It's still in there. I believe if I went out and sprayed it today, it would still kill the weeds. Okay. Now, I don't think that's ideal. Typically when I got my big spray rig mixed up, like I'm basically refilling it almost every day. It's a 400-gallon tank. I spray most of it out, and then I'll refill it in the evening and spray it out and refill it in the evening. So it's not in there very long at all. But some of my handheld ones, stuff stays in there a lot longer. And anyway, I think most time it's fine, but I'm sorry, I don't have a definitive answer for you there. All right, he says, hey, Jason, hello, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. And it's been a month since I reseeded. I mowed 3 times. It's safe to put down a fall pre-emergent. So sometimes it's also helpful if you can tell me like what kind of grass you have and what kind of where you live, things like that, depending on what your question is. So I'm just going to say that you have a cool season lawn is what I'm guessing, Rick, and that you reseeded it, mowed it 3 times. I would say yes. If it's already been mowed 3 times, I think you would be fine putting down a fall pre-emergent. Now, sometimes the tricky part is like let's say you put down let's say you seed it. Okay, you definitely don't want to put your pre-emergent down before you seed it, because that's not going to work out too good. But if you seeded it, it's rooted, and now you put your pre-emergent down, it's possible that some of those cool season weeds you're trying to get ahead of with the pre-emergent may have already germinated. So, but I'm not saying I'm just saying some of them may have. You probably get ahead of a lot of them. I don't know where you live. Like here in Alabama, it's been mid-80s this week. Okay, we haven't had really. We got down in the low 50s a little bit, but it's been pretty warm. So in my mind, I don't think that many cool season weeds are germinating. Now, I'm assuming you're further north than me if you've got cool season grass. But like I said, this tomorrow night, I think it's supposed to be 44 degrees or something, and it rained today. So I'm thinking lots of weeds are going to germinate in the next 48 hours here. So that was the other thing I really liked. I got my application done yesterday. Now, what we typically do, we'll mix in, like for instance, I'm using Spectacle Flow, but you're not going to use that on a cool season lawn. But we think that the Spectacle Flow has a little bit of a reach back ability, meaning like if let's just say the Poa annua or whatever weed is already germinated, hopefully it's going to be able to still knock it out, and then of course if it's a broadleaf weed, I've got 2,4-D and stuff in there, hopefully going to knock it out with those. Blanket sprayed my Bermuda with prodiamine yesterday. I'm in Hampton, Georgia. I would say that's great timing. I mean, prodiamine, there's some yards, like I'm using Spectacle, which is obviously a more expensive product. I use prodiamine early in the year. Like I would say blanket it again. If you're in Georgia, I would blanket it again in February, February time frame. I would do it before March personally. But some yards, just don't have that much weed pressure. Like I've got some yards that get a lot of Poa annua. I spray with Spectacle Flow. They still get Poa annua. Some of them don't have much Poa. I feel like if I use prodiamine, I'd still be fine. So hopefully your yard, you got pretty healthy, thick grass, then the prodiamine certainly better than nothing, and you may come out looking great with it. Again, just for me, I'm out spraying Spectacle, just trying to get a little bit better control so I don't have to deal with any weeds if I don't have to. Do you recommend leveling with sand? I have Georgia clay. Well, I mean, here's the kind of thing about that. I've been messing with my yard this year, trying to level it a little bit. And what I wish I would have done, honestly, I wish I would have got a, what do you call those things? It's like a Harley rake on the front of a skid steer. Get somebody with a Harley rake, come in there and just till it up, and it'd make it so smooth. I think that would have been great. I didn't do that, and I just kind of threw some sod out, and it's all lumpy, and I got sand. They have a mix at the local nursery where I'm at that's kind of sand and topsoil mixed together, and I think that's probably better. Now, if you're just going, let's just say it's just a little bit off and you're wanting it just to be perfect, then I think sand's fine, okay? But what you don't want to do is just put inches of sand on there, because the sand doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it as far as growing turf. Now, it's great for leveling. So sometimes you might go with a combination, and maybe your landscape supplier yard may have some that's already pre-mixed, that's kind of a sandy topsoil that'll still smooth out pretty good, but has a little bit better nutrients in it for growing grass. So that's what I would recommend. But again, if you just want to put just a little bit on there, sand would be fine, definitely for leveling. Now, personally, I would wait and do that like May or June of next year. If you do it now, you're going to be looking at sand all winter long. So I would wait till the grass starts growing again and do it kind of early, like May or June. I wouldn't wait till August. You could do it then, but I'm saying give it plenty of time to be able to grow in over the course of the summer. All right, Jimmy says, can I use a handheld sprayer to apply pre-emergent? Age and arthritic knees would make the use of a backpack sprayer difficult, if not impossible. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, you can use whatever you want as far as that goes. It's not about the amount of volume necessarily of water. It's about the amount of chemical. So let's just say I'm putting out spectacle flows. What I've been doing, I've been spraying at 6 ounces per acre. You got to figure out how that translates to your yard if you're going to mix that in, and can you get a good even pattern with a handheld sprayer. Now you may have a tiny yard. You can also get it in granular form. A lot of stuff, so prodiamine. You can get it in granular form if you want to do that. But you can definitely do it in a handheld sprayer. I mean, that's not. Again, you just want to make sure you're coming up with the calibrating and knowing how much you're putting out, how much chemical you're putting out. Don't get so much hung up on the amount of water you're putting out and trying to make it nice even application. So yeah, so he's got fescue yard. The Rick we were talking to earlier about overseeding his yard, reseeding. All right, Neil here. Hey, Jason. Now, Neil, let me just go ahead and say, I am a lifelong Phillies fan, and I see your Braves logo there. So we're going to be rooting against each other here for a few days, but we'll see what happens. Hey, Jason, I started my lawn with Xeon Zoysia back in May. I'm new to warm season grass. The temps are starting to drop. Zoysia is browning up, and I'm trying to figure out if it's dormancy or fungus. I would say it's most likely just dry and maybe going into dormancy. Fungus, I mean, it could be. I don't know if you're, I don't know how much you're watering. If you did it in May, I would think it would be rooted by now. Zoysia's kind of slow to root, and I'm not sure where you live. It's been really dry where I'm at for the past month in near Birmingham. So I had somebody yesterday or day before telling me about a zoysia lawn. They said, yeah, my zoysia's kind of turning brown. And I was talking to him. I said, well, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. We had a really bad drought, way worse than this year. And I saw some zoysias die, but I don't think this year was near as bad, at least in my area. So I think sometimes they get dry, they start turning brown, and they may even go into a little bit earlier dormancy because they're brown. You could get down in the grass and kind of look down, part the grass a little bit, look down toward the base and see if you see some green tissue in there to make sure it's still alive. And you may want to water it just a little bit long. I mean, it's about to cool off. If we get a good rain, then I don't think you have to water it much anymore. But I've been trying to keep my shrubs and trees alive. I'm thinking I just don't want it to die, right here at the very end of the year. So if I had to guess, I'd say it's just drying and shifting in dormancy and not a fungus. I applied a Celeprint a month ago. Yeah, I mean, that helps with, grubs and things like that. So do you leave door hangers after you complete the lawn applications? No, I don't. I mean, I'm not sure if you're talking about on my actual customer's yard or on like the neighbor's yard. So that might not be a bad idea to own the neighbor's yard if you wanted to do a marketing. They call it like a 5 around, where you hit the 5 houses around you. I put a sign in the yard. I use Chad at spraysigns.com. He does great work. And I, like a lot of weed control companies, I have a yard sign in their yard. It lets them know I've been there. And then, of course, I mean, I have a few customers, like old people, that want me to still leave an envelope on their door with the bill. I don't like doing that, but I do it for a handful of people. So on those, I do leave a bag with an envelope and the bill on their door. This guy says no. I'm trying to put that in context. He just says no. All right, landscaper here. Love your videos. You're full of knowledge. I get a kick out of your shoot cover video. Showed that to one of my coworkers. I'm trying to remember what you're talking about. Out of my shoot cover. Well, I got like a shoot block on my. We do some stuff on YouTube. Some stuff is made for YouTube, and it's just one of them deals where, I think it's funny when people, leave all these comments. If you did that at my house, I'd fire you. I get out in the yard, we blow grass on the driveway on purpose. Like I've got lantana growing, which is a flowering deal in my flower beds. And last year I just ran over it with the lawnmower to get rid of it. But I was like, for YouTube, I wouldn't do that at a customer's house. I'm probably going to do it again this year. But anyway, people go nuts on that. Neil says, "Go Braves." We'll see, Neil. We'll see what happens. I live in Atlanta and water an inch per week if no rain. Well, if you're watering that much, you should be good. I would say, yeah, I mean, you're good on that. I would back off on the water, or you may end up with a fungus, next spring. But a fungus, I mean, it's usually not a fungus. Is usually not going to like attack the entire lawn. I mean, necessarily. So I still think it's just kind of transitioning into dormancy, but I would back off on the water because it's getting cool, and if you keep it wet all this time of year, you may end up with a fungus. Jimmy says, Bermuda and Zoysia applied Anderson's 1908 and .38 barricade Labor Day weekend. Plan on application of Princep late November after grass goes dormant with Q4 image and 2,4-D. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, I think that's fine. I mean, you're probably a little early. I don't know where you live, but if you got Bermuda and Zoysia, I'm assuming you're similar climate to me. So Labor Day, I started spraying my pre-emergence like mid-September, and just finished up yesterday. So, just if I only had 1 yard, was just doing my own yard, I would probably wait a little later than Labor Day. But I don't think it's a bad thing. And now we typically mix the Princep in there. But yeah, a lot of people do what you do. They'll do like a split out. And I have been learning this, Jimmy, just on somebody told me that some research has come out that Poa annua, is one of the main weeds we're trying to prevent with our cool season application. They said that actually more Poa germinates early next year than it does in the fall of this year. So yes, some will germinate this fall, but a lot of it's going to germinate in February of next year when the weather starts warming up again. And so they were recommending, like, hey, if you're using a spectacle like I am, like, hey, put a little bit of spectacle out in the fall, but you might want to come back with some more like early in the year. So what I did last year, I was using, a lot of people use a split out. They'll do 3 or 4 ounces in September, 3 or 4 ounces in November, and put Princep in there, or do it and then another one with Princep. For me, I did 6 ounces now, and then I'm going to put 3 in my January application with prodiamine. So prodiamine would be mostly for crabgrass, but I'm gonna give a little booster shot on the spectacle in January, hopefully to get some of that Poa that's going to germinate in February. And then I'm going to come back with a little bit more spectacle the next round, 3 more ounces probably in March in that application to try to hopefully help with the Kalinga and the doveweed and all that kind of stuff. So Daniel says, I want to know how to get rid of English ivy naturally. I want to plant a garden. The only way I could think of is use a bobcat with a rototiller. Yeah, even that, I don't know if the bobcat is going to be tough. Naturally is the part that's throwing me off there because I'm thinking chemically. I mean, I think sometimes people use like triclopyr or stuff like that. It's going to be tough. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure if you dig down deep enough, you're going to get the vast majority of it. But yeah, you might have you're talking about like the Harley rake thing. I was talking about leveling out your yard, a bobcat with a Harley rake on it. I would be wondering if that's going to get deep enough to get the roots. I'm not sure. But if you want to go chemical route, the triclopyr might work, but you got to be a little careful with that. It can damage trees and stuff too. Jason, thanks for the video and info. I'm in your area on 280. Actually, curious about my zoysia under one particular oak tree. The grass has turned very yellow. Is it due to the nuts? I doubt it. I mean, like I said, I just think we've been really dry. Would be my first guess, and that doesn't mean it's dead. I'm almost just like, let's just go ahead and get cold and let it go dormant, because it's been a rough past month. So I don't know if you watered it all, but it's interesting you say yellow instead of like tan. I don't know. I mean, I doubt it's due to the nuts. If I had to guess, I would say it's just been dry and it's we're getting shorter days, cooler nights. It's going to be cool this weekend. I think it's going to start transitioning. So it's amazing to me what how it survives. Like like I said, 5 or 6 years ago, we had this really bad drought in August, September, probably 2 months with virtually no rain and a very hot time of the year. And what I noticed was almost everything came back the next spring looking fine. I mean, I remember I had a yard at that time. It was a centipede yard, my own yard, and it was so crunchy brown. And I was watering a little bit, but I mean, it was horrible. And the next year, boom, bounces it back. So I know a lot of yards don't look good right now, at least in our area, and it's getting dry and transition and all that. But you'll be amazed at what comes back next year. I'm not saying we want to put it to the test. I mean, it is not necessarily a great strategy to just let your yard suffer. I had a customer yesterday. I was spraying his yard, and as soon as I got done spraying, I texted him. I said, "Hey, he's got a tiny little backyard with centipede grass, and it just looked like it was on life support, just crunchy brown." And I texted him, I said, "Hey, I mean, he literally got such a tiny yard. You could just get one sprinkler to just wouldn't even have to move the sprinkler." And I said, "If you'll just water that grass for just a little bit longer, because you hate for it just to go into winter just barely alive. And then we get a rough winter and it comes out looking terrible the next spring. And they're like, why does my yard look terrible?" I was like, I mean, you didn't do it any favors in the fall by letting it be almost dead headed into winter. Daniel P, I get out and pull up my hand. It's a pain, but it's a great workout. Okay, I guess he's talking about the English ivy. Man, that's not my kind of workout. But I'm wondering. I guess I don't have any experience with that. But yeah, English ivy. Somebody told me one time, it's like one of the things. Once you get it going, it's just very hard to get rid of. We have a new build, and they provided sod front and back. Our front yard took really well, but the back is patchy and has bare spots. We did recommend watering, but nothing. What kind of grass do you have, Chris? Here in our area, like I said, if it's cool season lawn, now would probably be a great time to overseed it. If it's a warm season lawn, like particularly Bermuda, I don't get too worried if there's a few bare spots and stuff because it just really grows aggressively. Now, it may be next year before it fills in. And if it's zoysia, it's very slow. All right. Scolger Soup, he's pulling for the Twins. Well, I think Twins are playing Astros, and I'll say I'll go for the Twins over the Astros as well. Hey, Jason, I live near Savannah, Georgia. Centipede grass going to be spraying Trimac the next week. Should also be spraying something in the grassy weeds, for the grassy weeds also. I mean, what we're doing, Mark, on our centipede yards is we put prodiamine in there. I'm using prodiamine and then simazine. That's the two things. But you could use Trimac if you want to do that, just prodiamine and Trimac. So that will help with some of your cool season weeds, like that might be going to germinate or help maybe even broadleaf weeds. The grassy weeds you got now, I mean, I don't know what kind of grassy weeds you have. Well, and I know Savannah's is kind of warm climate, but I was thinking for here, like if you had a little bit of crabgrass, the good thing about centipede, it just doesn't get that many grassy weeds. But if it was a warm season grassy annual weed, I'm just thinking let it die. Again, if it gets below freezing in Savannah, and I'm not sure if it does or not. If it doesn't, then yeah, maybe you go in there and spot treat it. But I wouldn't be mixing in some. I just hate to go spray a whole yard to kill 3 grassy weeds. So I would try to know, like if it's crabgrass, for instance, if our Bermuda yard is just full of crabgrass, I'm not spraying it. I'm just saying it's going to die soon. If it's Dallas grass, now is actually a good time to kind of work on it. But again, that's very hard in a centipede yard. So it might need to depend on what kind of weeds you have. Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate the advice. Thanks, Neil, for chiming in today. Drop this guy a like, everyone. Okay, he says drop me a like, and he's pulling for the Twins. Georgia, close to Athens. Thank you. And thanks to you and Ron Henry. I finally found something to kill and get rid of nutsedge in my yard. Celsius is certainty. Yeah. I mean, for the nutsedge, you don't even need the Celsius. You can just go with the certainty. And if it's just nutsedge and not Kalinga, even a cheaper option would be Pro Sedge or Sedgehammer. But Celsius is certainty. Is good because it will help with Kalinga and nut sage. And I mix soil, cease, and certainty together a lot of times because I can just about spray almost any weed with that combination. Jason, happy to see you with good health. Well, thank you. I am fairly healthy today. I've been pretty healthy for a while. I think it's been about 2 years ago. I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and had to go in the hospital for a little while. I don't even take medication. I just have to watch what I eat a little bit. Tall fescue for Chris. All right, so let me go back. Oh, so yeah, Chris, if you had tall fescue and I would just, now's a time to overseed it, so I would get a little bit more seed out there quickly and in those bare areas and try to get nice and thick and do it sooner than later because you want it to get established as much as you can before the weather turns cold. I do a whole long fence line mowing in Texas. Okay. Not too familiar with that, but that sounds interesting. Fence line mowing. So I'm wondering is there some kind of attachment? I've seen these weed eater attachments that go on a zero turn. I'm wondering how you do that. I have a patch of Bermuda starting to grow in the middle of my zoysia. Any stopping it or just let it take over with the zoysia? It's a pain. I'm trying to remember. I went to this look at, I think it's Syngenta came out with a product. It's called Recognition. And they have some, so I forget the exact combination, but these are expensive products. It's going to be a real pain to, if it's just a patch, you might do best with a shovel and dig it out, But there is a chemical way, supposedly, that will get Bermuda out of stuff. And I saw the lawn care nut. Alan just did a video on it on his channel. So you might check that out. But the product's called Recognition, but I forget the exact combination. If you got to put it with something else, Fusilade too. And if you do it one way, it kills this grass. If you do it another way, it kills this grass. So anyway, it's some way to get Bermuda out of zoysia, but I don't remember the exact combination. But it's something to do with Recognition. Jason, I'm scared to put down pre-emergence because it's been so dry. I'm in South Mississippi. I have centipede yards going down to 40s and 50s next week. I mean, I would just put it out. I mean, I'm not too worried about it being dry. I mean, yes, it does need to be watered in at some point, but I mean, you can wait if you want to. But like for instance, here we got a little bit of rain today, or you can water it in yourself. Just put it out and just run your sprinkler for 10, 15 minutes and call it good. Because. Anyway, I'd rather be just a fudge early than late, So, but if you skipped it on your centipede yard, I don't think you're going to be in terrible shape. It might. So anyway, I know the weather. I think sometimes the thought is like we're looking for that perfect day and perfect circumstances, and that's sometimes I understand a little bit of a blessing and a curse with a homeowner mentality because you're like. You got 1 yard, for those of us that have a weed control business, like we just can't wait for perfect timing for everybody. So we're out there spraying. And what I've come to realize is like, it's just amazing how well this stuff works. You think, well, yeah, put out too early, put out, it was too dry and it didn't rain or rain too much, or is it late and early, whatever. And you still get pretty good results almost every time. So the chemistry there still works pretty great. Newly seeded Bermuda grass in the Atlanta area seeded in June. Can I apply prodiamine now in a weed killer? I'm going to assume, without looking at your yard, that if you put it out in June, that if you seeded it in June, that you're looking at several months now. Where I think it's fine. I don't think there's. I wouldn't have a hesitancy with that. I mean, I don't know how well it filled in June. If you got mostly to fill in, and now it's starting to spread, and maybe there's some bare spots. I would still spray it, and then next year, hopefully, whatever bare spots are there, if you've got a decent amount of Bermuda, it should fill on in. So yeah, I would put it out now, and I'd put out more pre-emerging in February, and then I'd put the fertilizer to it in May and let the Bermuda fill back in. This is my friend James, and he's a friend of the show and friend of mine, and he says, "Oh, this is what I was trying to think of." So, the yard that has the zoysia growing up, the Bermuda growing up in the middle of zoysia. Okay, now these products are most likely going to be expensive, but James is my Harrell's rep here. And recognition plus 24 ounces per acre of Fusilade 2. Okay, so I think that's the combination that's supposed to get rid of Bermuda out of zoysia. The Real AD. I live in the Birmingham area as well. Any good places you recommend to find some perennial rye? Looking to overseed for the first time. Well, I bought mine from James. I've got to oversee a softball field next week, but they don't typically sell to homeowners as much. But there's a place. I live in Trustville, so there's a place. I'm trying to remember the name of this place over off Derby Parkway. That's I'm sorry. I'm sure like Site One, I would think places like that would have it. The place I just can't think of the name of the place that I've bought stuff from before. But I've bought annual ryegrass at this place. I'm assuming they'll have perennial rye too as well. But you might check Site One, you call them and see if they have perennial ryegrass or maybe even some kind of seed store. You probably order online, but I would just Google some kind of seed store near you. All right. Well, we're 31 minutes into it, and I'm happy to quit now and go eat lunch, or I'm happy to keep talking. But you guys, that's all the questions we have for now. I wanted to mention too, I do have the Lawn Care Life Conference. Pretty excited about that. It's February 23rd and 24th of next year. James is saying Blackjack on Derby. Blackjack is like the landscaping company, but this place I'm thinking of is right by Blackjack Horticulture. And it's Universal Seed and Supply. Okay, that's what it's called. Universal Seed and Supply in there off Derby Parkway. And you could call them, and they sell a lot of seed and stuff like that. So check with them. But yeah, the Lawn Care Life Conference, I partnered up. Well, I mean, Paul Jameson's helped me do the event this year. If some of you listen to the Green Industry Podcast, and Paul says it's still my event, but I mean, we're basically partners in it, but it's still called the Lawn Care Life Conference. We got Naylor Taliaferro coming this year, the Lawn Care Rookie, Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. I've got a guy named Jeremy Vest, who's like a marketing guy coming. Jeremiah Jennings is supposed to come. Caleb and Brittany Allman are coming. I'll be there, is what I've been told that I'm supposed to be there. So it should be a good time, and I'm looking forward to it. It's $197. It's a Friday night, and that's your early bird ticket pricing, which I think will run to the end of the year. That includes your meals. So Friday night and most of the day Saturday. I think we're going to try to wrap up like 4 o'clock or something. So we'll feed you dinner on Friday night, breakfast, and lunch on Saturday. I'm hoping to have some equipment on site that we can demo, and we've been talking through some of the topics. I just sent out. I actually had a good bit of people register. We think we can fit 300 this year, and I believe we're going to sell out. That's just my guess, because the pace of ticket sales are much faster than what it was 4 years ago when I did it last time. So this will be our 4th conference. So anyway, go to lawncarelife.com and you can check that out if you want to come to the event. We would love to have you. Appreciate all you guys watching and participating in the conversation. And like I said, we enjoy your downtime. I think during this winter, I've got some goals and things I want to work on, and trying to, just continue to tweak my business, improve it. I'm going to be changing my program just slightly next year, not trying to reinvent the wheel, but just wanting to make a slight adjustment, see if I can get a little bit better summer weed control, and just continue tweaking things. Okay. But I'm usually pretty transparent on YouTube with what I'm doing, and I love for you guys to leave comments and let me know what you're doing as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.